Welcome to the Walk in Truth Christian Fellowship Church broadcast on the WITRN network. Come join us as we study the Word of God together. Go get your Bible and let's see what the Holy Spirit is saying to us today.
To bless us and keep us. God, we just thank you for peace and revelation, and we just ask you to enter into this study and help us see you more and more. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Amen. Okay, so I want to correct some things from last session. The reason why Mordecai did not bow to Haman had nothing to do with Jews not being able to bow, because they bow to each other. But Haman is an Amulite, and so those are one of the people that Amalekite. Thank you. My glasses was off. I'm cleaning them. And so those are one of the people that Jews are not supposed to associate with. And so, of course, Mordecai knows that. And I also wanted to. Excuse me, go to Numbers 24:7. And it talks about water shall flow from his buckets, and his seeds shall be in many waters. His king shall be higher than Agag, and his kingdom shall be exalted. Okay, he's talking about Jacob. And so then when you go to 1 Samuel 15:8, and the reason why this was so stuck in my head, because we actually talked about this, and I'm glad I used to type my notes. I can go back in here. This is the section when the pastor was talking about where the Lord rejects Saul. And if we start at verse 8, 1 Samuel 15:8, Steve, read that for me.
He also took Agag, king of the Amalekites, alive, and utterly destroyed all the people with the edge of the sword.
Keep on reading.
But Saul and the people spared Agag, and the best of the sheep, the oxen, the fatlings, the lambs, and all that was good, and were unwilling to utterly destroy them. But everything despised and worthless that they utterly destroyed,
Okay. And so God had told Samuel to tell Saul to destroy the Amalekites, which means everybody had to go. He did not tell them to spare anybody. And then we find out later on in 2 Samuel 16. Let's go there. And go 5 through 14. Hold on. I might wrote something wrong. Hold on. No, not. Let's go back to. Hold on 1 second. Sometimes I type so fast. Oh, it would be nice if I went to the right Samuel. 2 Samuel 16. Sorry about that, y'all. But I wanted to, before we go there, I want to talk about Agag and how Saul spared him. And Pastor talked about last week how Saul spared him, and Samuel went on and killed him, and he did. According to the commentary, I'm trying to pull it up. Let's see. Go to page. 1 second. Just put a pin in.
Well, while you looking, I want to say something, because Kevin brought something that tweaked my interest. You know, Kevin, we brought up the fact that we were trying to figure out what Mordecai, what position did Mordecai hold, and he was somebody in the court. You know, he wasn't just no old man walking by.
Right.
He was actually somebody. You know what I'm saying? He held a position just lower than Haman.
Right.
And I also wanted to correct that. So while we talking about that, where I'm going to where I'm going, he so when we left off, we talked about how he helped falter plan for the king not to get killed, right? And usually what happens is when you falter plan, you get granted some type of position. However, in this case, because of a divine intervention, he did not get awarded anything at this point.
Yeah.
And so when we get in the other chapters, you guys we will talk about more why he did not get his reward until 5 years later, because it was part of God's plan. So I'm going to go back to my notes. It says that Haman is called the son of Hammedatha, or the Agite, or the lineage of the Amalekites. And they talk about how Saul, he was taken prisoner by Saul, and slaughtered by in pieces by Samuel. And so this commentary says many Jews and Christians, and even other commentaries, state that Haman was a descendant of the Amalekite king. So as we know that even though Samuel cut him up, they were supposed to destroy everybody. It would not be pretentious to say that some people ran and escaped, but they also wanted to say that Agag is a term and also a family name, because when we went back into when we just read Numbers 24:7, we know the same Agag is not the same Agag in Samuel. So it's a name. Also, if we go to 2 Samuel 16:5-4, that talks about the story of Shema, Simei, and how he, if you read chapter 2 Samuel 16:5-14, you will see how he cursed David. And then when you go to 2 Samuel 19:16-23, you'll see where David spared his life when David came back. So do me a favor, Steve, read 2 Samuel 16:5-14.
Now when King David came to Bahurim, there was a man from the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera, coming from there.
Thank you for tuning in.
He came out, cursing continually as he came, and he threw stones at David, and at all the servants of King David. And all the people and all the mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. Also Shimei said thus when he cursed, come out, you bloodthirsty man, you rogue. The Lord has brought upon you all the blood of the house of Saul, in whose place you have reigned, and the Lord has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. So now you are caught in your own evil, because you are a bloodthirsty man. Then Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, said to the king, why should this dead dog curse my lord the king? Please, let me go over and take off his head. But the king said, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse, because the Lord has said to him, curse David. Who then shall say, why have you done so? And David said to Abishai and all his servants, see how my son, who came from my own body, seeks my life? How much more now may this Benjamite let him alone, and let him curse? So for the Lord has ordered him. It may be that the Lord will look on my affliction, and that the Lord will repay me with good for his cursing this day. And as David and his men went along the road, Shimei went along the hillside opposite him, and cursed as he went, threw stones at him, and kicked up dust. Now the king and all the people who were with him became weary So they refreshed themselves there.
And so let's go to 2 Samuel 19, verse 16 through 23. Go ahead, Steve.
Me.
Mm-hmm.
And Shimei the son of Gera, a Benjamite, who was from Bahurim, hurried and came down with the men of Judah to meet King David. There were 1,000 men of Benjamin with him, and Ziba, the servant of the house of Saul, and his 15 sons, and his 20 servants with him. And they went over the Jordan before the king. Then a ferry boat went across to carry over the king's household, and to do what he thought was good. Now Shimei the son of Gera fell down before the king when he had crossed the Jordan. Then he said to the king, "Do not let my lord impute iniquity on me, or to me, or remember what wrong your servant did on the day that my lord the king left Jerusalem, that the king should take it to heart. For I, your servant, know that I have sinned. Therefore, here I am, the first to come today of all the house of Joseph, to go down and to meet my lord the king." But Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, answered and said, Shall not Shimei be put to death for this, because he cursed the Lord's anointed? And David said, "What have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah, that you should be adversaries to me today? Shall any man be put to death today in Israel? For do I not know that today I am king over Israel?" Therefore the king said to Shimei, "You shall not die." And the king swore to him.
Okay, so I'm laughing because he keeps telling Abishai, "What am I doing with you?" It's kind of funny. So he right there shows that Shimei was spared by David when he could have been killed for cursing the king, right? So just to give you a background, so Mordecai is a descendant of Shimei, and if David hadn't spared his life, commentaries state that Mordecai wouldn't be here. So let's go back to Esther. I want to clear some things up. Esther chapter 3. And so, Alicia, if you want to start at verse 1.
Okay. After these things, the king Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hamadiah.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Okay. The Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. And all the king's servants who were in the king's gate bowed and did obeisance to Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did obeisance to him. Then the king's servants who were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, "Why transgressest thou the king's commandment?" Now it came to pass, when they spoke daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's words would stand. For he had told them that he was a Jew.
So Mordecai's explanation was, "I'm a Jew. I can't bow down to him." Customary, they bow to each other. They bow to the king, but he couldn't bow to Haman in particular because of who he was to the people of God, who he represented. Go ahead.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him abstinence, then was Haman full of wrath, and he disdained to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had made known to him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. In the first month, that is, the month of Nisan, in the 12th month year of King Ahasuerus. They cast pur, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day and from month to month, in the 12th month, that is the month of Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are different from all people, neither keep they the king's law. Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to tolerate them.
Okay, so let's look at the language of that again. He didn't straight out say the Jews. He said there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the provinces. So let's remember this verse, because this is an important verse when later on in chapter 6, 7, and 8, where Esther reveals who she is. But in this verse, Haman never tells the king it's the Jews. Okay, so he says there's a certain people. Now listen to verse 9. This is the important part.
And if it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed. And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those who have the charge of the business, to bring it into the king's treasury. So he said he would pay $10,000 if the king let him do what he wanted to do, because at this point, the king's treasury was low because they had just got through fighting wars. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he needed the money. So the king said, read verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it unto Haman, the son of Hamadiah, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy. So they're going to say that 5 times, that he is the enemy of the Jews in this book. Go ahead. And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the 1st month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's deputies and to the governors who were over every province, and to the prince of every people of every province according to its writing, and to every people after their language, in the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. So it didn't say the king wrote the edict, or the king even said what was going to go ahead. He gave him carte blanche and said, hey, take my ring, seal it, do what you want. Right? Right. So after that, the king, it was recorded, but the king ain't, really trip off of it. Go ahead. And the letters were sent by post to all the king's province, to destroy, to kill, to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day, even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month of Adar, and to take the property of them for spoil. Now, this is when it says it was the Jews, but in front of the king, he said certain people. Right. Okay, and the it's not the 12th month like we think about it. Commentary says it's like February, so they have from February to, we'll find out later, to almost December to figure out what they're going to do. Go ahead. And the copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready for that day. The post went out, being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan the palace, and the king and Haman sat down to drink, but the city Shushan was perplexed. They were like, what happened? What did we do? It'll be different. Like everybody like, well, what happened? Why are we dying? What did we do to offend? And so that everybody don't understand what the offense that Mordecai did to Haman caused him to do so. Commentary talks about, let's go to Proverbs 16. Verse 19. Judith, you want to read that for me? The 6 things that God
So yeah, Proverbs 16 verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is the New King James Version. It says, better to be a humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud.
hold on 1 second. I think I wrote it down wrong. Hold on. It is, it's, sorry, 6. Lord,
Okay, 6.
help me in my typing.
Chapter 6.
Chapter 6.
Verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, go 16 through 19.
Oh, I did not. So it says, these 6 things the Lord hates. Yes, 7 are an abomination to him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that are swift in running to evil, a false witness who speaks lies, and one who sows discord among brethren.
Is that Haman?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But there's also us too. The 6 things that the Lord hates, 7 of them are abomination. I like how they do that. But have you ever had a haughty eye, a lying tongue? You might not have killed somebody innocent, or you devised the plan, or you bear false witness. So that is, and we know that a man's heart is deceitfully. It's not deceitfully, but it's evil, right? And so those are the things that they're attributing to Haman. Okay. So now he is the enemy of he's the enemy of the Jews, and everybody, they ain't got through drinking, and they all happy, and other people were in turmoil, right?
I have a question. So you said, like, so from February to December, they have for all this to happen?
No, they had to remember we talked about the lots. So they pull lots to see, they kind of like, I don't want to say the astrologers, but they have superstitions. And so when they pick lots, they pick, this is the designated time when this is going to happen.
Yeah.
So they had time, well, Mordecai had time to figure out, or God had to ask God what to do before they became extinct. So Haman had a plan. They pulled the lot, and this is what's going to happen.
So do the Jews live there for all the time, knowing that this is going to happen to
Mm-hmm.
them at a certain? That would be terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
You know that on a certain date,
You're gonna die.
annihilation is going to come.
Right.
Okay. So,
But,
yep, but God.
Yeah.
So now you see how God is weaving already. How God is going to show that the only way they can overcome this, God has to intervene. Okay, chapter 4, Esther.
And Mordecai learned all that was done. Mordecai tore his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes and went out into the center of the city and cried with a loud and bitter cry. And it came before the king's gate, for none might enter in the king's gate clothed with sackcloth. And in every province, wherever the king's commandment and his decree came, there was great mourning among the Jews, and fasting and weeping and wailing, and many lay in sackcloth and ashes.
Now you got your description of what was happening. They scared. So now they turn, they like, okay, what's going on? Let's go to 4.
So Esther's maids and her chamberlains came and told it to her. Then was the queen exceedingly grieved, and she sent raiment to clothe Mordecai and to take away his sackcloth from him, but he accepted it not. Then called Esther for one of the king's chamberlains, whom he had appointed to attend upon her, and gave him a commandment to Mordecai to learn what it was and why it was. And that went forth to Mordecai unto the street of the city, which was before the king's gate. And Mordecai told him of all that had happened unto him, and of the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay to the king's treasury for the Jews to destroy them. Also he gave him the copy of the writing of the decree that was given at Shushan to destroy them, to show it unto Esther, and to explain it unto her, and to charge her that she should go in unto the king to make supplication unto him, and to make request before him for her people. And Hadad came and told Esther the words of Mordecai. Again Esther spoke unto Hadad, and gave him commandment unto Mordecai, saying, all the king's servants, and the people in the king's province, do know that whoever, whether man or woman, shall come unto the king into the inner court, who is not called, there is one law of his to put him to death, except such to whom the king shall hold out the golden scepter, that he may live. But I have not been called to come in unto the king these 30 days.
Okay, so let's stop. So she says, now you know I can't go see him. He got to ask for me. What am I supposed to do? And let me get to that. So she's like, okay, I want to help. I know, I'm obligated, but what do you want me to do? I'm really helpless at this point, because the only way I can see him is if he calls for me, and he has not called for me for over 30 days. And some people are like, well, you the queen, why you just can't go? According to the commentary, if he didn't call you and he didn't hold out the gold scepter to say, hey, even though you're not supposed to be in here to live, you're going to die. That is the only way. And the law concerning the unsummoned person was briefly talked about in Daniel 2. Let me see if I can pull it up at 9. Make sure I'm right there. Hold on. Okay, so it's in Daniel. I'm not gonna go to 9, but it's talking about how Daniel had to be called to tell the king about the dream. You just can't go up and say, I'm going to go see the king today. That's not what you're going to do. And so Esther was like, I don't know what you want me to do, but you know that he hasn't called for me. There is, far few exceptions. And the other reason is you never know with this King Xerxes, whatever you want to call him, you never knew how he was going to be. Mm-hmm. He could have been nice. He could have been mean. And I think a lot of the king's dispositions were like that. Because remember when Nehemiah was like, I'm scared to talk to the king about going back. You didn't know what mood they was going to be in. And so you didn't want to, you wanted your head.
Well, some of the commentaries that I read said that because of intermarriage of kings and stuff, a lot of them was like mentally ill and kind of crazy. And we have to remember, like Venus said, he had just lost a major war to the Greeks, where all of his ships got destroyed. And they say he was so crazy in the historical book that he went and beat the ocean for taking his ships.
Yeah. So he was crazy.
A madman.
And so you never knew if he was in a good mood or a bad mood or whatever. And this book shows his moods. When we get to chapter 8, you're gonna see how quick he don't think half the time. Okay, so then Mordecai comes back, pick up at verse 12, 4 and 12.
Okay. And they told to Mordecai Esther's words. Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews.
So he's saying, it don't matter if you queen. You really ain't got no power. You finna die too. So we need to figure something out. Go ahead.
For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then shall their relief and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed. And who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this? So
such a time as this, that's where that came from. Mm-hmm. You put in this place for such a time as this. This is the reason why God placed you here. So you need to do something. And what did she say?
Then Esther told them to return Mordecai this answer. Go, gather together all the Jews who are present in Shushan, and fast ye for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise. And so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish.
Now, all my life, there's been a song. If I perish, let me perish. I'm going to see the king. I never knew where the verse came from. But they're talking about Esther. I found that out that it is true because I really listened to the original song, and the woman starts off and she says in Esther 4:16, she says, if I perish, let me perish. I'm going to see the king. So it's be like, if I perish, let me perish. And I'm like, so we attributed saying that we're going to go see Jesus. It's the same, and that's the same, that's for us. But what Esther was saying, I'm going to see the king. So if I die, I'm gonna die anyway if I don't do something.
But you know, I was amazed at what Mordecai said. It was real quick. He said, if you don't deliver us, I still just like the Hebrew boys, I believe that God will deliver
God's
us.
going to deliver us.
He's gonna send somebody to do this.
For such time as this, I know God is going to do this. So I was like, oh my God, because I'm a song person. If I can hear the song, and it's like she said, no matter what, I know that I could die because this man is crazy. She intimately knows him. Everybody knows he's crazy, and she's the queen, so she knows him. And so she said, but if I'm going to die anyway, let me perish and see what I can do. But I need y'all to fast for my strength for 3 days so that God can give me discernment on what to do. So this is where, once again, just like Deborah, a woman is put in a place to save a nation. Deborah had to do it because the man said he wasn't going to do it. He's scared. But Esther had to do it because her father figure said, this is the reason, for such time as this is the reason why you were put here. And so I need you to use some type of feminine wiles to get him to listen to you. He didn't tell her how to do it, what to do, but she asked God, she went fast and asked God for guidance. So let's go to 17.
Can I say this? I don't think she used her feminine wiles as much as God used her to do his will. Because for her to go in, no matter if she had feminine wiles, when you on the cray side, you're not really paying attention to the feminine side of a woman. But you're going to listen to what she's saying because God has touched your heart to open up your heart for you that you receive what she is saying.
So what I'm saying is that you're correct. I wasn't saying it in a negative connotation. What I'm saying is because he's crazy and he believed that she was beautiful and he picked her out. Right. Mordecai didn't tell her what to do, but so she asked God what to do and to use her, when I say feminine wiles, not in a negative way, but you know how you could be like, hey baby, let me talk to you for a minute, in a respectful way, to get him or her to do the things that you would like him to do. You know how to stroke their ego, you know how to talk. And when we get in chapter 5, 6, and 7, you can hear how she speaks to him and how she appeals to him so he can hear her. Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
She plays into his ego.
Correct. And so that's part of feminine wiles, not because all feminine wiles are not negative. You just know how to finesse and get what you want out of the person that you
your husband.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he picked her up when they had the whole thing. So, I mean, imagine this woman that you picked that's pretty, she's afraid to look upon, and she just shows up. Really, and then, of course, with the help of the Lord, granting her favor, she's just shining, like her face just shining, and you're like, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say. Something like that. I guess that's what you're trying to say. Yeah,
but you have to know who you're talking to.
Well, think about it. In John the Baptist, they all say the same thing. I noticed this. When the king was pleased, think about when John the Baptist got beheaded, they were drinking and partying too.
Right.
And he sent for the daughter to dance, and the mother sent her. Well, again, let's be honest. Why? Because she was good looking, that's right. And she danced before him. And the one thing they all say, which I thought was really weird, they all say, up to half of my kingdom I give you, whatever you want.
Whatever you want. Up to half. You can't have all of it, but you get up to half.
Yeah, you can have anything you want. And the beauty of this is I agree with you. You see God weaving, working both sides of the equation, putting him in a vulnerable position of he's lost these wars. Think about it, he's actually losing his mind.
Yeah.
And the only good thing that he has is his queen.
Yeah, and Vashti, remember, she died because she didn't do what he asked her to do.
That's right.
And so she like, you know, I know that pretty looks is not going to save me all the time. With God, he going to help me figure out what to do. And she kind of put me in the same remembrance of Nehemiah. Hey, you got to pray and figure out when I'm going to do this and how I'm going to do this, because I know these people are crazy. You know, both of them had some crazy kings, except Nehemiah was eating the crazy food. And, you know, and so when he's tasting the food to make sure the king wouldn't die. So he was even more vulnerable, right? So let's go to Esther 5:1. Travis, you want to pick that up for me?
I'm sorry, before we go there, in chapter 4 where it says she called a fast, some commentaries were saying that she just fast, or were they praying as well?
Well, it's implied in a fast that it's implied in the fast that you're praying, because what are you fasting for, other than not just eating? Usually it's fasting and praying are always together.
Yeah, you don't just pray, you fast and pray.
Right. So you need to pray, especially like if I'm fasting, I'm praying because I'm hungry. I'm praying for some reason. I gotta put a little humor in her, but that she asked everybody to fast and pray. So I don't know what, you know, what else will be the other reason for them to fast for.
Right.
This one that they said the animals fasted too. Was it this one?
Huh?
Oh, I was trying to say, was it this scripture that they said the animals fasted too, or was it the one with Jonah?
Well, this one ain't say nothing about no animals fast.
That was with
Jonah. Because the animals ain't got no reason to fast on this one.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
They have it if they don't fast.
I thought I read that it was that this was the one that she fasted with the animals fasted also.
I didn't see nothing in my commentary about the animals fasting, so I'm not going to put it out there that the animals is fasting. All I know is that the word of God said that she asked for all the Jews and her people around her, the young women around her, to fast and pray. But if the animals was fasting, that's good for them. I didn't see nothing in here about it. But
I think it's not this one. It's Jonah, because then I think God was going to destroy everyone. So animals gotta fast too, because they're going to be destroyed.
Well, you know, and there was a thing I read too about that concubine system, like the one he was doing to choose her. They said, like, think about, let's say 100 girls, 40 girls from all over his 127 provinces were brought before him. If he did not choose them, they became concubines. Oh, wow. Can you imagine? So
you can't even get married, you can't leave, you can't go back home,
right,
you gotta stay here. And then when he call you, when he feel like it, that's when you gotta come. So, you know, of course they didn't have to wait and their wife was ready to take them. They had somebody else to come. Yeah. So let's go to Esther 5.
Okay, Travis.
I'm going to have Travis read that one.
Okay.
It says, on the third day, Esther put on her royal robes and stood in the inner court of the king's palace, in front of the king's quarters, while the king was sitting on his royal throne, inside the throne room, opposite the entrance to the palace.
Now she just standing there.
See, I'm picturing him drunk,
He like,
looking like, woo!
What's she doing there?
She just standing there. You know what? I got a pretty queen.
Go ahead.
And when the king saw Queen Esther standing in the court, she won favor in his sight. And he held out to Esther the golden scepter that was in his hand. Then Esther approached and touched the tip of the scepter.
He's like, so thank you, because she could have died. So he said, no, come on, let me see what you're talking about. Come on.
And the king said to her, what is it, Queen Esther? What is your request? It shall be given you even to the half of my kingdom. And Esther said, if it is please the king, let the king and Haman come today to a feast that I have prepared for the king. Then the king said, bring Haman quickly so that we may do as Esther has asked.
So then when she said, let's eat today. So he said, okay, let's eat. Let's have a feast. Come on.
So the king and Haman came to the feast that Esther had prepared, and as they were drinking wine after the feast, the king said to Esther, what is your wish? It shall be granted you. And what is your request? Even to the half of my kingdom it shall be fulfilled. Then Esther answered, my wish and my request is, If I have found favor in the sight of the king, if it please the king to grant my wish and fulfill my request, let the king and Haman come to the feast that I will prepare for them, and tomorrow I will do as the king has said.
So in my mind, like, okay, I got his counsel now. Why wouldn't I just ask him? But something in her said, no, you need to wait.
And he need to be drunker.
Basically. But it wasn't, you gotta tell you when it's the right time. And sometimes you be like, no, this ain't the right time to approach this subject. Now we're going to see God working. Let's go to 5 and 9. Come on.
Okay, it says, and Haman went out that day, joyful and glad of heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, that he neither rose nor trembled before him, he was filled with wrath against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. And he sent and brought his friends and his wife Zeresh. And Haman recounted to them the splendor of his riches, the number of his sons, all the promotions with which the king had honored him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and the servants of the king. Then Haman said, even Queen Esther, let no one but me come with the king to the feast she prepared. And tomorrow also I am invited by her together with the king.
Let's not lose this. It says, even Queen Esther let no one but me come with the king to the feast she prepared.
Set them up.
Now think about this. You hate the Jews. You hate her uncle, but you don't know that's her uncle.
Yeah.
Her uncle cousin. You don't know that, right? So you thinking Esther just Esther, but you up here regarding about what a Jew has done for you. And you don't even know it. And it comes to my mind, and I know this is just real simple, but you never know who you're talking to and who that person's related to. How small the world is. It's like in St. Louis. You shouldn't talk about nobody because you don't know who related to who. Everybody cousins once removed or know somebody. And so you have to be careful who you're talking about and what you're doing, right? But he's like, oh, even the queen like me. But hold up, you don't even know who the queen is. Right. Go ahead. And who she is. Go ahead.
Yet all this is worth nothing to me, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate.
So he don't even care about his money. He's so vengeful because Mordecai didn't bow to him another time. And he ain't even wondering why Mordecai isn't sitting at this gate. Go ahead.
Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, let a gallows 50 cubits high be made. Let a gallows 50 cubits high be made. And in the morning tell the king to have Mordecai hanged upon it.
Wow.
Then go joyfully with the king to the feast. This idea pleased Haman, and he had the gallows made.
Now let's understand that gallows and what we think gallows are and gallows of what they were talking about is two different things. The Persians are credited for being the first people to crucify. So it's not the same. It's not hanging. Okay. You're in. So I just wanted to talk about that. So let's think about it. What you meant for my bad, God meant for my good. So you have basically built, he don't even know yet that he's built his own death, right? He has set it up. I shall prepare in front of my enemies, okay? All right.
He wanted, so the decree to kill the Jews is still standing, but
it's still standing.
He wants to hasten the death of Mordecai alone.
Because Mordecai started all of it. So you have to understand the reason why Mordecai is so distressed. Because not only he's responsible for why all the Jews got to die.
Right.
Because this one man mad at him. One person making all these other people die. And so him is upset to Mordecai, and Mordecai keep on disrespecting him. You know, how many times am I going to walk past this and he not going to respect me? So now he got to die tomorrow. And of course his wife was like, well, won't you just do this and then tell the king and then you can go do what you got to do. Okay. Let's go to chapter 6 and see how these tables get changed, honey. Go ahead, Travis. Keep on.
Okay. On that night, the king could not sleep, and he gave orders to bring the book of memorable deeds, the chronicles, and they were read before the king.
Now, this is where God is appearing. And this is the reason why she didn't ask for the request, because God had something going on. Go ahead.
And it was found written how Mordecai had told about Bigtana and Teresh, two of the king's eunuchs who guarded the threshold and who had sought to lay hands on King Ahasuerus. And the king said, "What honor or distinction has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" The king's young men who attended him said, "Nothing has been done for him." And
Stop.
The king said,
So he says nothing has been done for him. Persian law, this is a breach of Persian law. Persian law says that if you save the king or do something like that, you're supposed to be honored and regaled, and it's supposed to be recorded. And because it wasn't recorded, the king like, well, what did we do for him? Because something's missing, right? Now, mind you, this is 5 years after he did it. This wasn't yesterday. So for 5 years, Mordecai wasn't honored. And the reason why it had to be delayed for such time as this. Look at that. Look at that. Go ahead.
and the king said, "What honor or distinction has been bestowed on Mordecai for this?" Is that right?
Mm-hmm. And the king, young men who tended him, said nothing and had not been done, so start at 4.
Okay. And the king said, "Who is in the court?" Now Haman had just entered the outer court of the king's palace to speak to the king about having Mordecai hanged on the gallows that he prepared for him. And the king's young men told him, "Haman is there, standing in the court." And the king said, "Let him come in." So Haman came in, and the king said to him, "What should be done to the man whom the king delights to honor?" And Haman said to himself, "Whom would the king delight to honor more than me?"
Now, I love how God does things, and this pops in my head. Because remember when David did wrong, and who was his name? Nathan came to him and said, "Let me give you a story. And what should be done to this person?" And David says, "This is such going to happen. This is to me the same thing that is happening to Haman." It's a similar thing. Go ahead.
And Haman said to the king, "For the man whom the king delights to honor, let royal robes be brought, which the king has worn, and the horse that the king has ridden, and on whose head a royal crown is set. And let the robes and the horse be handed over to one of the king's most noble officials. Let them dress the man whom the king delights to honor, and let them lead him on the horse through the square of the city, proclaiming before him, 'Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor.'" Then the king said to Haman, "Hurry, take the robes and the horse, as you have said, and do so to Mordecai the Jew, who sits at the king's gate. Leave out nothing that you have mentioned." So Haman took the robes and the horse, and he dressed Mordecai and led him through the square of the city, proclaiming before him, "Thus shall it be done to the man whom the king delights to honor."
Now you was talking about yourself. This is what should happen, because I want everybody to know that even though I want to be bestowed this honor because I am that man. I am, and the person that I despise, I'm coming here to say let's kill him, and he say no, we're gonna honor him, and I gotta do it. Not somebody else, but I gotta bestow this honor for the man I despise. He had to feel lower than low. He probably was boiling that he had to go do all this stuff. And this is where God is saying, "Okay, I see your heart. I'm finna let you know, and I'm still in control, right? What you meant, right?" So let's go see. This is what makes me kind of chuckle a little bit. Esther 6:12 says, "Then Mordecai returned to the king's gate, but Haman hurried to his house mourning, and his head was covered." Now, in they talk about in the commentary, David did the same thing when he was dishonored, but also in Persian tradition, when you have your head covered, you have committed a crime or you're guilty of something. So now he's going home, and Travis, pick up 13 and let's see what the Magi told him.
And Haman told his wife Zeresh and all his friends everything that had happened to him. Then his wise men and his wife Zeresh said to him, if Mordecai, before whom you have begun to fall, is of the Jewish people, you will not overcome him, but will surely fall before him.
Now hold up one doggone freaking minute. Didn't you just tell him to erect the gallows?
Right, they encouraged him to do that.
That his wife encouraged him. The wise man didn't tell him to do nothing. She said, well, why don't you just build something right quick? And now she was like, oh man, you done messed up.
Right.
And the Magi said, you gonna fall. So they gave him a prediction. Now, even when your wise man, your evil, that's not of God, tell you you gonna fall, you gonna fall. So this is he getting what you do when you go get a reading? He getting a reading. The psychic and told him you finna die. Writing this on the wall. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Let's go to verse 14. 6 and 14.
While they were yet talking with him, the king's eunuchs arrived and hurried to bring Haman to the feast that Esther had prepared.
So he was late. He supposed to came back with Mordecai. He ain't went home because now he like, ain't this a mess? I'm not happy at all. This is not how my day was supposed to go. I go in there talking about we finna kill this man, and you talking about honoring him. Okay? So, let's go to 7 and 1. Alicia, you want to pick that up?
Mm-hmm. So the king and Haman came to the banquet with Esther the queen, and the king said again, Esther, on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee. And what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the king answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request.
Okay, Miss Alicia, now read this like you finna ask your husband something. Ask him. That is not how you would ask him if you want him to do something. You say, if I find favor, like, look, honey, let me tell you. Like, if you really love me.
If you care about me.
If you care about me.
If you want me.
Right. Can you please?
My petition.
Thank you.
He ain't paying attention.
He's not paying attention to us. Okay, go ahead.
For we were sold, and I and my people to be destroyed, to be slain, to perish. But if we have been sold for male and female slaves, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not compensate for the king's damage.
So she says that if we'd just been sold off, put in slavery, I'd have been okay. But this is far worse. And now I got to die for something we didn't do? Go ahead.
Then the king, Ahasuerus, said unto Esther the queen, who is he? And where is he who would presume in his heart to do so?
Now y'all see, he didn't even know he did this. Because remember, he just said a certain people. So, and he gave him the ring because all he was thinking about was the money. He didn't even think about who Haman was doing. But of course, at that time, he didn't even know that Esther was a Jew.
Right.
So it didn't bother him. If he knew Esther was a Jew, he might have asked what people. He might not have, because he was thinking about that money. Go ahead, I'm going to finish that out.
And Esther said, the adversary and the enemy is this wicked Haman. And Haman was afraid before the king and the queen.
So now Haman knows that she's a Jew. Mm-hmm. And the king knows that now Haman said he gonna kill her too. Mm-hmm. The man already crazy. And drunk. And he said, I'll give you half my kingdom. So he has to give her a request. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. And so now he's like, who did this? But in my mind, I'm like, Haman is responsible, but you just gave him carte blanche for his money to do whatever he wanted to do. You just gave him a blank check, right? And said, kill whoever you want to kill. I just need the money because we ain't got that much money left, right? Yeah. So when we come back, we're going to find out what happens to Haman at Esther 7 and 7. And we'll go ahead and go until the wheels fall off. Okay? All right, Heavenly Father, we come right now, and we just thank you, God. Thank you for being able to see you weave in and out of Esther and save the Jewish nation and doing things even when we don't see it and we don't know that you're doing it. We just ask you to bless our city, to cover us and guide us, protect us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you for tuning in to the Walk in Truth Christian Fellowship Church broadcast on the WITRN network. Come join us every Sunday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time for Sunday worship. Bible study is held on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. and 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We are located at 3006 North Lindbergh Boulevard, Suite 711, St. Louis, Missouri, 63074. All are welcome, and we look forward to seeing you soon.